There exists a form of suffering so silent, so misunderstood, that even those enduring it can scarcely name its depth. It is the suffering of the chosen one who has gone without sex, not by vow, not by virtue, but by the cruel logic of fate. While others feast on affection, touch, validation, he starves. And in that starvation, something ancient begins to stir, something alchemical. Sexual energy is not just physical, it is psychic, it is symbolic. It is the purest, rawest manifestation of libido, not merely as a drive for intercourse, but as the very force of life, the engine of creativity, ambition, aggression, love, and spiritual longing. When a man is deprived of its expression, that energy does not vanish, it coils inward. It turns subterranean, and there, in the depths of his unconscious, the work begins. Jung knew this as the path of individuation, a slow and brutal unfolding of the self from the persona. When a man has no access to sex, when his desires are unmet, he is robbed of a mirror. He is robbed of a mirror. No partner affirms his value. No body answers his longing. He cannot escape into the narcotic of pleasure. He is alone with his need, his shame, his fantasies, and so he is forced to sit in the fire. At first, this fire consumes. The mind races with envy. The body aches. The soul feels forgotten. But if the chosen one does not flee, if he resists the pull toward bitterness or pornographic escape, something begins to happen. The energy transforms. It rises up from the lower centers, not repressed, but sublimated. What once sought physical release now seeks expression in form, in vision, in action. This is the alchemy. The sexual urge, when held consciously, becomes a sacred fuel. The hunger that once tormented him begins to carve out a space inside his being, a vast, echoing chamber in which purpose can finally speak. He begins to channel the intensity. He may write with new depth, build with unnatural focus, train with a violent discipline, or sit in solitude so profound it unnerves the world around him. The same energy that once pleaded for release now burns with direction. But this transmutation is not clean. It is not holy in the way people imagine. It is brutal. It is full of setbacks, relapses, dark nights, hallucinations of the feminine that haunt his dreams. It is not celibacy for pride. It is abstinence through fire. The chosen one must confront the shadow of his own desire. The manipulator, the addict, the romantic, the predator, the lost boy, all the archetypes buried under his denied craving. Only by seeing them, naming them, integrating them, can he rise. And what he rises into is not the absence of desire, but mastery over it. The libido, no longer wild, becomes will. The chosen one becomes a man who walks with intensity. He enters a room and does not need to speak. His presence says what bodies use to scream. This power is not domination. It is containment. It is the force of a man who has been to the edge of himself, faced the demon of longing, and made it kneel. There is a quiet battlefield that lies hidden beneath the surface of a man's daily existence. It cannot be seen in his smile, in his handshake, or even in his silence. But it is there, an invisible war being waged between his instincts and his ideals, between his unmet desires and his imagined destiny. This is the psychological war of celibacy, unchosen, uncelebrated, and unbearably real. For the modern male psyche, sexual access is deeply tied to identity. Not because of biology alone, but because society, media, and myth have forged a brutal link. Sex equals worth. A man who is wanted is seen as powerful. A man who is not begins to rot inward. He is told, subtly and constantly, that he is defective, that his hunger is pathetic, that his longing is evidence of failure. And so when a chosen one, an individual marked by vision, sensitivity, or destiny, finds himself without sex, he is not merely deprived, he is attacked. Internally, existentially. Yet beneath this rage lies something even more disturbing. The unbearable vulnerability of the masculine soul. The pain that precedes the anger is the true root. The ache of rejection, the agony of feeling disposable, the gnawing suspicion that one's longing will never be met. And society does not allow space for this kind of male grief. There is no cultural script for the man who has desire but no one to share it with. So he hides it, and in hiding it, it mutates. But for the chosen one, the man marked by depth, by awareness, by potential, this mutation is not the end. It is the beginning of transformation. He begins to examine his rage not as pathology, but as information. Why is he so angry? Why does the absence of sex feel like betrayal? Why does he equate lack of intimacy with lack of worth? These questions become doorways. He begins to see that his anger is not just about the external world. It is about his relationship to himself. He realizes he has collapsed his identity into his desirability, that his sense of manhood has been outsourced to the gaze and embrace of another. And now denied that gaze, denied that embrace, he must find another anchor. He must build it alone in the dark without applause. His rage, when faced directly, becomes fuel, not for vengeance, but for resilience. Not for resilience, he begins to train not just the body, but the mind. He works through fantasies not to indulge them, but to understand their grip. He studies his projections, his idealizations, his inner feminine. He learns to hold tension, to sit with longing, to transform erotic energy into art, discipline, movement, prayer. His fire doesn't die, it changes direction. It no longer seeks relief. It seeks mastery. This mastery is not suppression. It is not numbing. It is containment. He feels everything, still craves, still aches, but now he is the vessel that holds it, not the victim who drowns in it. His presence becomes dense, magnetic, not because he is getting what he wants, but because he has learned to live without it and remain whole. The rage that once threatened to consume him has now crystallized into power, still alive, but directed, sharpened, refined. The silent fire. Why the sexless man becomes spiritually dangerous. There is a kind of man who walks the earth like a phantom, not because he is weak or invisible, but because he has been quietly exiled from the realm of touch, intimacy, and desire. He does not speak much of it. He does not beg. He does not beg. He does not display his ache for sympathy. And yet, within him burns a fire so concentrated, so unrelenting, that even the world around him begins to shift when he enters a room. He is the sexless man, one not pacified by pleasure, not softened by romantic comfort, not sedated by the routine cycle of desire and release. What burns in him is not desperation. It is spiritual volatility. This is the man who becomes spiritually dangerous, not to others in a violent sense, but to the illusions that hold the world together. Without access to the erotic balm that soothes the modern psyche, he is thrust into a confrontation with raw energy, the unmediated force of libido that has nowhere to go. It begins to climb, to stir, to search for expression, and because it cannot exit through the body, it begins to awaken other centers: vision, intuition, inner fire, clarity. This energy, left unprocessed, could rot him. It could drive him into madness, addiction, or numb isolation. But if the man is strong enough to endure the pressure, if he can sit in the furnace of his own unspent desire, then what was once a torment becomes a gift. He becomes a vessel of concentrated will, forged by absence, refined by lack. This lack, paradoxically, fills him, not with satisfaction, but with presence. While others chase distraction, the sexless man becomes deeply aware of himself, of the games people play, of the constant background noise of need that animates social interaction. He sees how much of society is built around Eros, selling it, performing it, weaponizing it. And he, by being cast out from it, begins to see through it. He is no longer entangled in the web of longing, because he has had to make peace with the possibility that it may never be fulfilled. This detachment is not cold, it is awake. He becomes harder to manipulate, harder to impress, harder to control. The marketing of bodies no longer captivates him. The illusion of status no longer seduces him. He has been to the edge of his own hunger, and in that abyss he has found indifference, not from apathy, but from exposure. The pain no longer shocks him. It has sculpted him. This man is spiritually dangerous because he cannot be bribed with what the world uses to dominate others. Sex, validation, approval, these have lost their grip. He has tasted the poison of rejection and alchemized it into discernment. He does not chase love. He does not collapse in front of beauty. He watches. He waits. He decides. His gaze is not lustful, but surgical. He sees through the mask, and when he speaks, it is with a voice that carries weight, not because of volume, but because of density. His words have been tempered by solitude, his thoughts sharpened by silence. His presence is unnerving because it does not reach outward, it pulls inward. People feel him. People feel him. They feel the unresolved energy within him, not chaotic, but concentrated. And that concentration feels like threat. Not because he is violent, but because he is free, and freedom, in its purest form, is unsettling to those still bound by craving. This man, though unchosen by the world, becomes chosen by something else, something older, quieter, more intelligent than culture. His suffering becomes his initiation, his solitude his sanctuary, and his desire, once ignored by others, becomes the very force that grants him authority, not over others, but over himself.